Thank you, Shomak. I'm only here to introduce Manish, and he told me to keep it short, but I'm going to ignore that. Uh, After all, it is 10 years, and it's a very important milestone in the history of a young university. I see many of you here who were with us when there was nothing here, like Rudrangshu mentioned, several of the faculty and staff here. So I'd like to particularly congratulate all of you for having brought us to where we are. Thank you so much for all that you have done for us over the years. And it's incredible that we are here. I obviously want to congratulate the class of 2024. What an amazing achievement. Some of the years of your education were also affected by COVID. And so you should feel very proud that you are here. If I may request you to just stand up for a second, the class of 2024, not everyone. Uh, and I want just stand up, please. Thank you. And I'd like you to give a big round of applause to our faculty and staff who've been part of your journey. And now you have to clap one more time real hard. But before that, you have to turn around. And this is for your parents sitting in the back. Give them a huge, huge round of applause. Thank you. You may please take your seats. I'm going to use the podium to just leave you with a small message. Uh, as you go out into the world, you will carry the responsibility of the tag of being an Ashoka alum. Uh, Remember, we are still a very new and a young university. What you say and do matters to you, matters to Ashoka, matters for where Ashoka goes over time. You'll want to fight for various causes. Remember, there is no bigger cause than Ashoka as a cause, as a new university. And I hope that you will keep that in mind. I will move on to quickly introducing Manish. Manish is one of our founders, and that's not the reason he's a speaker today. I'll tell you why he's a speaker today. But more importantly, Manish and his wife Kavita, who's somewhere in the audience, are also parents today of a graduating son. So congratulations, Manish and Kavita, and Dhruv, of course. Manish has been joined in the cause of Ashoka University right from the start. Uh, he has a whole string of achievements, and I will now keep to the promise of keeping this brief. He is probably the largest private sector, largest employer in the country, employing 400,000, 4 lakh people, over 4 lakh people across the country. He has a library at home which has 12,500 books. He's really a lover of books and reading and scholarship and writing, and founded the New India Foundation that funds research and talks and lectures and writing. He's, as part of the foundation, he and Kavita also fund the Center for Translation at Ashoka. Uh, but the reason he's here is that Manish is one of the most inspirational speakers. Some of you may have heard him speak. Uh, I'm sure there'll be a lot of one liners today that you will always want to remember or at least want to write down because only he can come up with them. But one little known fact about Manish is that he was actually born and raised in Kashmir, and he actually grew up there. But I'll stop now. And Manish, thank you so much for doing this. We are really grateful for everything you do for Ashoka. And thank you very much for sparing the time. This is a very special moment for us. Manish Sabharwal.
So it's a pleasure to be here. And, when you get to my age, especially when you come to a graduation, the most interesting question you're going to ask yourself, and I ask myself all the time, is what matters more in life and in love, luck or skill? This is even more real for me than others because I work for a people supply chain company that has hired somebody every 5 minutes for the last 20 years, but only hired 5% of the kids who came to us for a job. So 2 lakh 20,000 kids come to a job for a job every month. We hire about 10,000 of them. So we're sort of at the agony and ecstasy of India's labor market. The ecstasy is obvious. I'm a child of lower hiring standards. Kids getting a job with me today would not have got a job 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But the agony wasn't as obvious to me till I started Team Lease. We had a job fair in Jaipur. 80,000 kids showed up. I met 800 of them personally. I would guarantee if they were born in Delhi, Bombay, or Bangalore, they would have had a job. But they were born in Dosa, Barmer, Junjunu, or Ajmer. The two most important decisions a child in India makes are to choose your parents wisely and your PIN code wisely. Maybe the luck or skill question is unanswerable. As a child of government servants, I'm not sure I'd be an entrepreneur if my first investor hadn't taught my finance class at business school, or my Team Lease co-founder Ashok hadn't been randomly allotted as my college roommate. Or if life is a series of daring adventures from a secure base, and the most secure base is your family, would my family have been a secure base for all my adventures if the grenade thrown on my police officer father had exploded in 1992? Of course, the smiling bomb squad technician assured us that the grenade was made in China and therefore low quality. But the luck or skill question may also be unsatisfactory, is where I'd like going with this. I know a lot of lucky people who are completely unskilled. They shouldn't be where they are. I know a lot of skilled people who are very unlucky. They just don't get to their destiny in life. So maybe there's a third dimension here. Dumbledore tells Harry Potter in Chamber of Secrets, it is our choices more than our abilities that reveal what we really are. So I hope you make 5 choices because choices matter much more than luck or skill. The first choice is play the long game. Tolstoy said the most powerful warriors are time and patience. He was right. A 25-year plan is not 25 one-year plans. My favorite interview question is, will you take 1 paisa doubling a day for 31 days? Or will you take 10 lakhs right now? Most people take 10 lakhs because it's logical, 1 paisa, 2 paisa, 4 paisa. But 1 paisa doubling a day is 1 crore 7 lakhs in 1 month. What is the catch here? The catch here is till the 25th day, you're better off taking 10 lakhs. So you have to stay the course for 31 days. But your logical question would be in life, how do I know when I'm at the 25th day? How do I stay the course? Well, the beauty of compounding is you don't need to know whether you're at the 25th day. When people ask me, they ask me all the time, when will you reach 10 lakh employees? You said you would reach that some time ago. I say, well, I have a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon in my office. Calvin says the secret to success is being in the right place at the right time. Since you never know the right time, you find the right place and hang out. And he goes to sleep there. The beauty of compounding is that if you play the long game, you don't have to guess where you are. And I hope you will play that long game. The second choice I hope you will make is take more risk. When I was your age, I defined cool as doing what everybody else was doing. At my age, I define being cool as what nobody is doing. I think what Rabindranath Tagore, one of my best friends whom I never met, really meant when he said Ekla Chalo Re was that the warmth of the center of the herd is comforting, but it's hardly a path to greatness. And of course, your butt gets sore from sitting on the fence. I've co-founded 2 companies. My first company was a 50 crore company. My second company is a 10,000 crore company. What was the difference? It was just how much risk we took. I remember getting a call on my cell phone from the CEO of one of the world's largest staffing companies 20 years ago. It was a $30 billion company and we were just starting out. And he said, I want to come to Bangalore and meet you. I said, sure, sir. Why? He says, my general counsel says you're a bunch of kids who are going to go to jail. I said, I would love to meet you. So he got on his private plane and he came to Bangalore and he sat down in our conference room. And he says, what is your strategy? We've been in India for 10 years and we have 500 employees. You guys are 2 years old and you have 25,000 employees. I said, sir, we have a very simple strategy. In fact, we have the only strategy which works in India. There's an old story about Akbar where he sentences this guy to death tomorrow morning. That guy says, Jahanpana, please don't kill me and chop off my head. I'm going to make your horse fly in 6 months. So Akbar says, you'll make my horse fly in 6 months? Okay, go back to jail. So he goes back to jail and his roommate asks him, how are you going to make his horse fly? He said, 6 months, man. Horse may die, I may die, Akbar may die, horse may fly. Entrepreneurship is staying alive long enough to get lucky. Most people don't realize that. That's back to my compounding point, but that's also true for life. And so you must remember when you graduate that the days are long, but the years are short. I recently went back for my 25-year business school reunion, and I would submit that the saddest phrase of middle ages is I wish I had. Because you can always change the things that you did, but you can never change the things that you didn't do. So you might as well take more risk. If you're jumping from the 10th floor, you might as well jump from the 100th floor because the outcome is going to be the same and you will have more time, of course, right? The third one, and the third most important choice from my perspective, which I would like to remind you, because is about a lifelong learning plan. The 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 system was designed for my parents who had a 35-year career. I will have a 45-year career. You will have a 55-year career. And the 10 plus 2 plus 3 system is not designed for 55-year careers. You also graduate to a new world of work. Employment has shifted from being a lifetime contract to a taxi cab relationship. Organizations don't live as long as they should or did. When the first Fortune 500 list of the largest companies in the world came out in 1950, their average life expectancy was 64. Now the average life expectancy of a Fortune 500 company is 14 years. So what's the value of a pension promise from somebody who lives 14 years? Also, COVID's work from home has made work from anywhere legitimate. So you graduate to a very new world of work, which is just starting to see what AI is doing. AI is no longer, or artificial intelligence, machine learning is no longer a plot pulled from the pages of science fiction. Human run into 100,000 tokens a day, most of us humans. ChatGPT has learned 13 trillion tokens. So does this mean humans are toast? Well, not if you take the advice of another one of my best friends whom I never met, the Buddha, who used to say, Atmadeepo Bhav, be your own light. And that really means, in specific terms for you, is curating a lifelong learning plan with 5 pillars. It's actually quite simple. It's the roles that you do will be your first pillar. The RBI board meetings for me, I went to Wharton, which has great finance classes, but the RBI board meetings have been the best classroom I've ever been in. So go and seek out roles which take you out of your comfort zone. Your second pillar will be relationships. Cultivate strong and weak ties. Your 5 or 15 strong ties will help you emotionally, but your 50, 150, and 450 weak ties will help you professionally. There is some logic to those numbers. Look up Dunbar's number. The third pillar will obviously be continually coming back to classrooms. Wharton changed the size of my thoughts. The fourth one, which is really a choice you will make, is on role models. My favorite poet, Maya Angelou, once said, the universe isn't made of atoms, it is made of stories. Stories are role models. My parents live in Kanpur now, and whenever I go to Kanpur, some enterprising kid will come up to me and say, let's go and meet a minister or an MLA. 50 crore ka contract milega, usme se 10 crore hum chori karenge. Why do they do that? Because the role models in Kanpur are Ponti Chadda and Subroto Rai Sahara and Dinesh Trivedi. I became an entrepreneur in Bangalore. My role models were Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, Nandan Nelikani, and Azim Premji, who always told us, take the long view, don't take debt, don't diversify, don't worry about how much of your company you own, and just keep taking risks. So I think your fourth pillar of learning will be the role models you pick, which may be one of the most important choices you make. The fifth pillar, which obviously I have a dog in this fight, will be reading. Right? Books have been a tool of freedom for me. I can become a reasonable expert on any subject in 1 year, but I would advocate reading diversely. because Team of Rivals by Doris Goodwin describes how Lincoln hired everybody who stood against him for the presidential elections into his cabinet. But it's not a book about politics, it's a book about teams. India After Gandhi by Ram Guha explains why separating economics from politics is risky, and maybe why the mathematician of economics may be diminishing its utility. Harun and the Sea of Stories by Salman Rushdie has the land of Gup going to war with the land of Chup because they kidnapped Princess Batcheet. It's about the power of transparency. I've read a book a week for 35 years. I hope some of you will beat my average in the next 35 years. Choice number 4, learn to work with people you don't like. Nothing big or meaningful is accomplished alone. Life is a team sport. Maybe we give you the wrong impression in school because we have another word for teamwork here. We call it cheating. Recently, one of my founding team members angrily barged into my office saying that about a senior new hire that we had, saying, I don't like him. I responded to her, I don't like you. I've been working with you for 20 years. Like is too high a standard for working with people. I respect you, and teamwork implies working with everybody. My daughter recently sent me a slide from Professor Upender Singh's Indian civilization class that wonderfully described the Jain philosophy of Syadvad as the doctrine of maybe. I stole this slide for our strategy offsite because I now know that cognitive diversity and cognitive tolerance is why my second company is 200 times larger than my first one. My co-founder Ashok and me are completely opposite. He's good at operations, I'm good at selling. He's great at having therapy sessions with cribbing employees. I make them cry. He's an introvert who'd rather have a root canal than give a convocation speech like this. I'm having a great time today. He's ugly, I'm good looking. I could go on. But my board member said something very cool in our last board meeting. He said if only Ashok had been around, the company would have been 1/100th of its size. If only Manish had been around, the company wouldn't have survived. I think we both agree. The final choice is please don't grade your own exams in life. Human bias was identified early. Alexander Pope wrote in 1711, to err is human. Since then, we have detailed many forms of human bias. The availability heuristic, the confirmation bias, the hindsight bias, the anchoring bias, the attribution bias. But I think the most universal and dangerous bias is the belief that I am not biased. Everybody believes that everybody else is biased, but we have a tarazu in our head that knows how to weigh things perfectly. And we never put our thumb on that tarazu. It is a form of intellectual arrogance, but it is also a very dangerous for your career. It's also very dangerous for your learning. So I would urge you to accept that bias is not a medical condition. It is a human condition. But the most dangerous lies are the lies we tell ourselves. Before any company files an IPO, which is when you decide to take your company public, we did that 6 years ago, you have to choose a project name for your IPO because you can't announce that you're public flowing with your lawyers. I named our IPO project Purna Swaraj because I was really unhappy with my pesky and questioning private equity board members, and they would have to step off the board when we had our IPO. That was very immature of me. Because the only way to protect yourself is to surround yourself with people who are hearing aids, who are mirrors, who are seat belts, or a fresh pair of glasses. So if you're ever tempted to grade your own exam, you're likely to get an A. But I would urge you to set up your life so that you don't. It's not that much fun, and it's not that exciting, and it really is dangerous. So those are 5 choices. Before ending, I want to discuss teachers, friends, and your luck. The teachers who push you the hardest, probably grade you the hardest, will be the ones that you punish the hardest in your course evaluations and in your informal student government rankings. But there is an element of eat your vegetables in good teaching. And good teachers expect more because they know you can be more than you are. So, to all the professors here today, I will not have the privilege of being inspired by you, but I can assure you that your biggest achievement will be the undying gratitude and the duas of your students when they reach my age. I also want to remind you about friends. It's easy to make friends when you're in college. In fact, some people believe you don't make new friends after college. I don't agree with that. But when you get to my age, you will realize that keeping friends is harder than making them. So look around you, stay in touch with these people, care for them, be generous with them. Most importantly, be forgiving of them. Like any successful marriage, the key to a successful friendship is a little deafness and blindness. Success is very hard to handle compared to failure. So when you are successful, which as somebody who went to Ashoka, you will need these friends to be your hearing aids, to be your seatbelts, to be your fresh pair of glasses. I would be derelicting my duty if I didn't remind you of your big pieces of luck. Your first piece of luck is you chose your parents wisely. Honor their sacrifices. I lost my mother a few months ago, and even at my age, I feel unprotected and vulnerable without her on this planet. So it's going to take 2 seconds for that. Just 1 second. So, after you finish this graduation ceremony, please give your parents a hug. Or better yet, touch their feet. I would if I could. The second piece of luck is you went to Ashoka. Your education is a shield and a sword. A shield is a weapon of defense. It will keep you safe. A sword is a weapon of boldness. You can find a cure for cancer. You can clean up politics. You could win an Olympic medal, or you could build a huge company. It's very important that you think about your luck. But the third piece of luck is you graduate to a very different India. India undertook two reckless experiments in 1947. One was political and one was economic. The political one has worked out spectacularly. No other country gave universal franchise at birth, right? First, most countries gave it to the landed, then they gave it to the rich, then they gave it to the educated. Some women in Switzerland got to vote in 1972. Pakistan and India, born on the same night, have had different destinies because 3 million people in India win an election and 22 million people stand for an election. We have built the world's largest democracy on the infertile soil of the world's most hierarchical society, and we should be proud of that. But our economic experiment didn't deliver mass prosperity. 200 million Indians won't sit in the car that they clean, read a newspaper that they deliver, or send their kids to the school that they help build. In fact, when I landed in the US for my MBA in 1994, there was a front page article on the Wall Street Journal, which I have cut out and kept in my office, that said, India is more interesting than important. I hope that journalist is eating the newspaper on which she wrote that. Because what's happening in India is not once in a decade or once in a millennium. It's once in the lifetime of a country. 50% of our foreign direct investment since 1947 has come in the last 5 years. In 2021, we exported more software than Saudi Arabia did oil. And we will soon be the third largest economy in the world. But India's work is far from done. The gap between India's aspiration and its reality is not a lie, it is a disappointment. Our generation didn't put poverty in the museum it belongs because there was not enough teamwork between the private sector, government, and non-profits. And nobody should be climb on any high horses. All three of us have our birth defects. The private sector has a trust deficit, the government has an execution deficit, and non-profits have a scale deficit. I hope all of you will drop the lazy prejudices that all business people only care about profits, all politicians and bureaucrats are corrupt, and all non-profits are virtue signalers. None of that is true. And Team India will be stronger for that. Jonas Salks, the inventor of the polio vaccine, said the most important question to ask yourself is, are you being a good ancestor? In Kashmir, where I was born, they recognize the difference between good ancestors as people who know the difference between amanat and jagir. Jagir is yours. The Maharaja of Cooch Behar used to spend 50% of the state treasury on Cartier and Rolls Royce. It was his Jagir. The idiot could do what he wanted. But Amanat is not yours. You are responsible for handing it over in better condition than you got it. So I hope you don't define success as being rich or being thin or being good looking. Mighty injustices like illiteracy, disease, malnutrition, poverty, and corruption beckon you for a pilgrimage. On this pilgrimage, remember the softest pillow is a clear conscience. And those who say that good guys and gals finish last don't know where the finish line is. So I'm confident you will hand over this wonderful amanat called India in better condition than our generation did because of your luck, because of your skill, and because of your choices. And of course, because you graduated from Ashoka. Ashoka is a good place to be at, but it's a better place to be from. May a soft heart go with your tough minds and thoughtful choices. Good luck and Godspeed.